My mother didn't know what was going on. The doctors kind of didn't know what was going on. It was just a lot to take in. So I felt like I wanted to do a video for people who are going through what we are going through, and can kind of look to something to see an actual person, and not all these animated videos or doctors talking about it or research and stuff. This is an actual person that has this condition. And he's doing good now. He's doing great. I'm actually on the way back home from a doctor's visit. We have to see his nephrologist twice a week. We go every Monday and Thursday for him to see her and check his sodium levels and to make sure, his medicine is working and everything, which is, he's on hydrochlorothiazide, which is short name would be HCTZ, which is I'm guessing it's a diuretic. I think that's what I was told. It's a diuretic, but with patients that have this condition, it does the opposite. It kind of stops the kidneys from putting out as much urine, so he can hold back some water. So he takes that, and then he takes a Pepsid, that just helps, to keep him from vomiting. But what my point of the video is to explain to people that it's not the end of the world, because you think it is like the end of the world. The doctors was telling me so much, when he was diagnosed. Like, one doctor actually walked in the room and told me, "You have no idea what you got yourself into," and just walked out. And I was just like, how can you be so cruel? I have a newborn baby, and and he has a brother. I just had twins. Like, that was just very cruel for him to say it that way. Long story short, it is not as bad. It's not that bad. It is a lot that you have to do as far as watching their sodium input and calculating their formula and what they can have and can't have. Like, all of that is very important, I would say. But as far as a daily life, in the beginning, it can be a bit overwhelming. It can be hard. It can be a lot to take in. But once you get your routine down and you figure out things, for your child and what your child needs, then you'll be a lot better. Because his doctors now, she'll tell me, only give him this amount of water, only do this, only do that. And I have found what works for him at home and what keeps him out of the hospital. Like, it can be times where your child is back hospitalized. He has been hospitalized one time since he's been out. And he's been out of the hospital now for about 4 months. And he had to go back one time. And that was because he had a cold. Now, that is something that they don't tell you. When children that have this condition, when they catch colds or the flu or anything like that, that can send them back to the hospital. And it's not from their condition. It's from them vomiting. When they're sick, they might throw up. And they're not keeping anything down, which can cause their sodium levels to go up. So he was admitted back into the hospital because of that reason. He had a very bad cold, and he was coughing and coughing and coughing. And he was coughing until he started vomiting. And once he started vomiting, it's hard for me to keep fluids in him. So we had to go back to the hospital. Now, he does have a G-tube, which that is something that I do recommend for parents to get for their child, because in the event that the child vomits or throw up, you can replace their feeds with their G-tube. But once it gets to a point where, like with my son, he was throwing up all the time. It was nothing that I can do. I couldn't replace nothing, because as soon as I put it back in him, it was coming back out. So he needed to go back to the hospital. And we stayed in there for a week and put him back on fluids, and they were able to get his sodium levels back down, and we were able to come home, and everything was fine. But I'll do a part 2 to this video because my storage is low and I'm using my cell phone to record. So it'll be 2 parts to this video. Just stick around for that, and I'll explain a little bit more.